Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, an actual play podcast featuring a rowdy group of best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I am your host and GM, Mitch Broesder. You can find me over on Twitter at MagnesiumB, and you can find the show on Twitter at Standard Risky. With me today, I've got Pete.
Hey, I'm Pete. I'm also on Twitter, Chip_Enjoyer.
We got Tim here with us today.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us again. If you want, you can check me out on Twitter at AxeHoarder.
Very nice. And, of course, Malcolm.
Sup? I think I did that one last time, but I'll do it again.
It's all right. Greatest hits. All right, so today we are continuing our game of Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey. As always, you can and should go find Beam Saber over at Austin's itch.io page. We're just going to hop right back into it. When we left off last time, we were kind of approaching the climax of our second mission here. You guys are in the town of Farron's Bluff on a mission to destroy the broadcasting tower located at Passerine Station there, right on the edge of town. If you listen to this one, you've probably listened to the ones that came before this. Otherwise, wild choice. Weird place to start. Go back. Don't do that to yourself. And so I'm going to set it up a little bit, and then I want to just kind of get right back into the meat of things, which is a thing everyone says. So, where we had left off, Rhodes, you are in the town square, the temple square, in front of this big marble Concordat temple. You know, the stampede is rushing around you. You've come in, you've destroyed a few of these Concordat soldiers, you incited a little riot, and then you were approached by the Concordat thaumaturge, Erides Tremolo, the evocator Erides Tremolo, who summoned her mech, the Comprehension of Grace, a sort of big, scary-looking thing with this filigreed Tesla coil on its back, firing off lightning bolts. And you'd kind of had a couple of exchanges, and I think we had just kind of ended. You had just scored this successful blow with your particle lance, and you had swapped spots, so you were now perched atop the temple roof while it is standing in the center of the temple square.
Yes, we had a sick anime standoff.
Excellent. So that's where we left you at. And at the same time, on the edge of town, Carta, you had relocated after your initial sniper's perch was smoked out by your signal flare distraction fire. So yeah, you had relocated after also sort of alerting the town guard was alerted. Whether or not it was your fault is up in the air, I guess. But you had relocated, and in doing so, had opened yourself up to fire from an enemy Concordat mech, a Caesura unit with a railgun that had taken a pot shot at you, but had missed and then relocated. And so we kind of left you there right at that moment.
Mountain exploding ahead of me.
Yeah. You've relocated to higher ground, but you don't have an exact bead on this enemy sniper. And at the same time, a few other enemy Concordat units you saw heading into town square, where, of course, Rhodes is in a pitched duel. And then lastly, Desmond, you had just taken out a Concordat guard at Passerine Station and had stolen that guard's kind of like pass key to get into the facilities at Passerine Station. And I think we kind of left off with you at the threshold to this station. You've taken out this guard, you've gained access to the building. But I think that right now, the guards at Passerine Station are a little bit distracted probably by what's happening in town, right? I think the watchtowers, they're probably looking towards the town. But I think it's only a matter of time before someone spots this guard that you've taken out, or someone notices that he has not checked in on the radio or whatever. And so generally the clock is ticking here. It's kind of a time to kick things into high gear and accomplish your mission objectives. And so that is kind of the lay of the land where we last left off. I think let's jump back in here with Desmond. So Desmond, You have just made it to the kind of like the front doors of the main broadcasting facility for Passerine Station. You've taken this, this wagon wheel Concordat passkey symbol, pressed it against like the sensor on the door here, and like the locks have disengaged, and these double doors have opened up. Behind you, on the ground, the body of the Concordat guard that you took out on your way in here, and ahead of you, I think we just get the kind of the wide shot of just this long hallway extending back into this building. First kind of like visual note I would say is that this building is not a Concordat building, right? I think we said this before. This broadcasting station has been here for a very long time, decades, if not longer. And so it doesn't have this kind of like very clean, very like, I think of like the Concordat aesthetic often is like a little bit like retro futuristic, very like clean, smooth. I don't think this is like that, right? I think this is like kind of a concrete building. The like lighting is probably like fluorescent inside, maybe like flickering in some places, like power cycling. The guard behind you is dead. You know that inside this building there is a control hub. Actually, I have a question. I realized I didn't ask this when it happened earlier because I was a little caught up in the moment. I'm curious. You killed that guard last time. Is that the first time that Desmond has killed someone?
Maybe like that. I think that maybe he's maybe on an accident, or maybe in a less direct way. He's not an assassin. That's definitely not. I think that he probably, to survive in prison, probably did.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably the first time he did that. I don't think it's the first time he's killed someone in this sort of context.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just trying to get a sense of like what Dez's headspace is. Is he kind of like moves on from that incredibly intense situation into like, you're here now. The clock is live. The mission's active.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he wanted to do that, and I he obviously tried to avoid it. Yeah, I think that last time he said you stupid asshole, you could have just gone to sleep. Like you could have just pretended to lay down or something, but it didn't work that way. So I think he's maybe a little bit flustered, but like I said, he's had blood in his hands before.
Okay.
But it was, I think before it was more like a necessity, out of survival.
Yeah. So yeah, you're there now. Like I said, the pathway's up to you. You're inside this building. I think I've described this before, but just to reiterate, I think this is like a 2-story building for the most part, but kind of built into it, like attached in like one corner of the building is like the broadcasting tower that kind of rises up out of the rest of the structure and goes higher and then terminates in this big like rotating kind of like antenna dish thing, the broadcasting portion of it. And I think like as you step in, there's not anyone there immediately. You haven't like walked right into like a group of guards or anything. And in fact, I don't think you see really anyone right when those doors open. Part of the reason you're doing this mission during the ceremony is the idea that it was going to be a skeleton crew at the station. And so far that's holding true. It is very lightly manned. So you're there at the entrance to the building. What does Desmond do? Where does he go and how?
Well, I think he's going to try and get to the part of the building that is the base of the tower.
Okay.
I think that'd be a safe assumption that that's where something important is going to be.
Is this like sneaking through the building, or is this like...
I'm just going right there. I don't have anything to hide from so far.
Okay, so I think you start sprinting into the building. Let's say it's like, the northwest corner is where this tower kind of emerges from the building. So I think you kind of have a sense of like directionally where you should start to head. I think as you like, kind of come into this hallway, you start to see the places it connects to other hallways. It's a pretty decent sized building, not quite like a maze of a building, but it's like not small either. I think, as you're kind of heading to this first cross section of hallways, mounted on like the corner, right, of this junction, I think, Desmond, you can see that there is, think of what it would look like here. Let's go. I really like the way the camera bank looks in Andor, right? This like 6 like square like rectangles with like viewing ports that are like this big chunky camera thing, right? And so yeah, I think as you're heading to this first junction, you see that there is like a set of security cameras there. Although I just realized as I was starting to describe that you have your cloaking thing on still, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
That was not. I was trying to think of if that was affected at all in the last 5 seconds or whatever, but I do not think it was.
No, yeah. I also had kind of forgot for a second. So I guess you have that optical camo on. So I guess then in that case, you probably don't need to worry about this camera that I was about to present to you as an obstacle.
Yeah, fucking got you, dude.
And that's called prep.
Foiled again.
Yeah. So in that case, yeah, I think, let's just cut to it, right? You make your way, and as you're running through, right, I think there are probably like signs mounted into the walls, right, with like different instructions, directions. And I think it becomes pretty clear to you that actually the control tower entrance is on the second floor, which is also the same floor that I think the recording studios are also located on the second floor. I think you see those signs as you're passing. I think you also see signs for security on the first floor. I think that there's like a security hub here somewhere on the first floor. And so you're able to kind of move away from that as you kind of make your way up the stairs. And, I think you're kind of passing. There are a lot of signs as you're moving through here that this place has been taken over by the Concordat in the last, year and a half or so. Probably a lot of hanging banners and things with the different symbols of the Concordat, the 7-spoked wheel. I imagine somewhere there's probably past a mural that someone has started painting of this humanoid figure made of starlight standing over an anvil, this sort of symbol of the builder. I think, yeah, you get up to the second floor, you kind of make your way towards that corner. And I think as you come around, you can see, so you get to the end of a long hallway. And I think, a lot of the hallways up on the second floor here kind of converge at this corner here, where I think there is a large, reinforced steel door with, control tower, printed above it on, a big sign. It's very clear, this is the entrance to the tower. It's very well demarcated because it's, a very important part of this facility. And like I said, I think you come out of around one corner down this one long hallway leading towards it. And I think you can see that standing in front of this double door, there is another Concordat soldier in full uniform, right? Full armor. I think holding probably not a rifle in these closer quarters, but some kind of submachine gun. I think also kind of this white ceramic, the armor as well. And this guard has been stationed here, right in front of this tower door, this kind of last line of defense. Like I said, the panic hasn't set in here. There aren't alarms going off in the station yet. I think probably anyone whose radio is still tuned to the station, though, will have noted that it has no longer the live broadcast that had Rhodes's incitation to riot. I think probably it has switched over now to some kind of pre-recorded programming, maybe just light music or something, right? Hymnals. Concordat are no longer broadcasting the sound of their own defeat. And so, yeah, I think, you've got a little bit of distance, but I think you come around this corner of this hallway and, the next obstacle for you before you can get to this control room is there is a guard there. And I think probably there is a similar looking kind of interface on the wall next to these reinforced, I imagine them as these big, heavy, almost blast doors. You can see the big rivets sticking out of them. These are heavier duty doors, higher security than what was the entrance just to this building. And I think, yeah, there is an interface on the wall next to them, presumably to use an appropriate key pass or whatever to try and get in through there. And yeah, so this guard, there's a guard standing there. He is kind of the next thing in your way before you might be able to get into this area.
Yeah. I guess, I'm just gonna freaking waste him, I guess. I'm not messing around. I'm not messing around about anymore. This is this is serious business. I think I wasted too much time, poor planning, trying to get in, and then trying to, spare that poor bastard's life. Then I'm not going to do the same for this guy. I'm just going to get down to business because we got stuff to do.
Yeah. So what does this look like? How are you approaching this?
I'm just going to walk up. I'm going to walk up and I'm going to shoot him in the head.
Wow.
Because he can't see me.
Struggled with it once, but now it comes easy.
Yep.
That's war, baby.
The murder train has left the station and it's express service.
Okay, yeah, I think that this is. Is this controlled at this point? I mean, there's still like a risk if this doesn't go well for you, I guess, right? That's the. Let's give it. I'll give you controlled here because you are. You've got your fine optical camo on right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not just regular camo, it is fine. It gives you increased effect, and I think that in this case, too, also I'm in a better position here as well because of that. And you've got this pistol with this firearm silencer on it. So yeah, I think this is. Honestly, this might be controlled great right now. I think there's still a chance this could go wrong, right? But I think things are pretty much in Dez's favor. I think your stealth advantage, your equipment, kind of overcome any tier differences you have from this soldier. So I think controlled great. Is this a prowl again?
Prowl.
It says you might stab an unsuspecting foe. I feel like this is like still, a sneak attack. I think it kind of falls under that prowl.
Yes.
Division. So you start off baseline. You have 2 dice in prowl. Do you want to push yourself for an extra dice? Do you want to get a devil's bargain here or a collateral die rather?
May I ask what the collateral is?
What is the collateral die here? I mean, it's gonna be a mean one. The collateral die is that someone realizes that other guard is missing. The alarm will go off. I will tick the clock on passing station to 4.
The last one will go, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, that's...
And I already have less time than that, too. We're already at 3 segments, so 4-segment clock. I'm going to stick with 2d6 on this one in that case.
Okay.
3.
Ooh, a 1 and a 3. So those are both failures.
Yeah, shit.
But this was controlled, we said. So, uncontrolled on a 1 to 3, the action failed, and the chance for that action to work has passed. Use a different action, or you can attempt the same action again at a worse position. So I think controlled here would change to risky because I think maybe it's, you're sliced, right? That's your level 2 damage, which I'm not invoking. I didn't invoke that -1 dice against your sneaking here because I don't think you're being like super acrobatic. I think you still kind of move slowly and sneak while sliced. But I think, right, Dez comes around that corner, is coming down, this cloaking effect is there. And what you don't realize is that you've been bleeding a little bit as you've been walking.
Oh, shit.
And so the guard looks down the hall and your visual camo, there's the shimmer or whatever. He doesn't catch that you're there, but he sees the blood on the ground. And it raises alarms in his mind, and so this guard who's been, I think, kind of standing at attention, right? He's not a guard who's lazy or sleeping or not on it, right? He's aware enough, he's been scanning the hallways, he's been looking, he's been holding position, and he scans the hallway and he sees there's this these few drops leading up to a small pool of blood on the floor down the hall. And suddenly it's the submachine gun's not pointed anywhere, but it's up and ready, and he's scanning the hallways again. He hasn't called anything in yet, but is clearly alerted. So if you want to try this action again, it would be at a risky position as opposed to a controlled position. But because that was a controlled roll, that's the only consequence so far.
So I can try that roll again?
You can try that roll again using the same action, but it will be at a worse position, like I said, risky, or you could try a different action while keeping your controlled position.
I'm just going to try again.
This is just Desmond, sees that the guard is got his hackles up, and just is I'm going to commit.
Yeah, I got to do it now.
All right. So that this is, risky, great. I would still say great. Yeah, the risky, great. Has your mind changed on pushing yourself? You got a lot of stress. You're 3 away from stressing out.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay, fair.
All right, just throw dice at it.
Oh, God. Oh, brother.
Oh, my God. My God.
Anybody want to read those results out loud?
Can you bring yourself to say it?
No, I'm not going to say it.
I'll say it then. It is a 1 and a 2. Ugh, Dez.
Nice knowing you, fellas.
That's all right. Play to find out what happens. So that's a failed roll, and I think I'm just going to be straightforward with the response here. I think that this guard, is like again peeking in the hall. I think how does this play out exactly?
Des gets shot in his head.
No, this is risky. You're not there yet. You take another step forward with the pistol raised, right? And another drop of blood from this razor wire cut on the side of your leg escapes the kind of the optical camo effect that you have going, and falls to the ground like it's like you could hear a pin drop in the room, right? It's so tense. Close zoom up of like the splash, and before Des can pull the trigger to like finish this off, you see like every single like muscle in this guard's body tighten up and tense at once, and they just snap in that direction, squeezing down on the trigger. Right, this is not like an aimed like burst of fire. This is just like instinct and panic, just sending a volley of shots down this hallway. And so Desmond, I think you're going to take the level 1 harm, grazed, because I think because it's this just like spray of fire, he doesn't like hone in and hit you directly. But you're going to take the level 1 harm, grazed, and you could choose to resist that. But I'm also going to, I think, secondary consequence. I think there's probably a button on that panel next to him. I think that guard, a round of fire down this hallway, and then turns and slaps a palm against like an alert button, and that's going to tick up the final segment on the pass-through station alarm clock.
All right, cool.
You can resist either one of those consequences if you would like to. Very risky with the amount of stress that you have, but it's on the table.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to change my entire plan from this point forward.
You could also, I would say, because we have not used this yet, but it's worth throwing out there. When it comes to that harm, at least, Desmond went in heavy. You could declare armor right now, which would...
Oh, and I do have plenty of... Okay, that's 2. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 5. And then there's only one more thing I really want to use.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do that.
So you're going to mark armor?
Yeah.
Cool. And so it's worth saying here, the way that armor works in Beam Saber versus a game like D&D or something else where, armor often makes you harder to hit. In Beam Saber, when you declare armor, you can kind of use it to reduce the amount of damage you would take from a consequence. And then after it's been declared and used, it won't reduce your harm from the next attack that you take. But in this instance, it will. Yeah, you will take no harm from that. So you are not grazed anymore. With that said, I think suddenly the lighting changes, right? Like red lights turn on, a klaxon alarm starts going off inside the facility. Des knows, besides the fact that this soldier is still up and ready to fight right in front of you, that pretty soon the other security forces in the facility and around Passerine Station are going to be responding. They're going to be coming to this building, and the control center, the control tower, is maybe one of the most important parts of this facility. It's likely that they will come to check this place out. And I'm going to keep the camera here for a second longer before we switch back to someone else. That guard is still up there, has not opened another round of fire yet, but what is Des going to do?
He's turning around and walking right out of the building. He's leaving. I'm not doing the spike anymore. I'm going to the generators. I'm going to place some plastic explosive and get the hell out. So yeah, I'm getting on the comms after that, and I'm like, whatever, peeling a piece of lead off of my like bulletproof vest or whatever.
Yeah, what does his armor look like?
It just looks like that. It just looks like a bulletproof vest. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like turning around, I'm like limping out, and I'm on the thing, and I'm like, well, spike is not happening. Simply just not happening today. Secondary objective is scrapped. We're just going forward with the with the destruction of the Passerine Station. So I hope you boys are doing great. I hope you're having a great day.
Yeah.
And I will see you soon.
If I can shake this asshole, I'll start heading that way, but I'm going to try to take him out before I bring any more fire back towards the town. Rhodes, how you holding?
Doing my best here. Des just survived to fight another day.
No shit.
So yeah, Des like just pulls back around that corner and starts heading out of the building. And I think we'll come back to Des in a moment. That's fun. Too often we see our heroes succeed.
Yeah, we're really Mondays. Am I right?
Great. And maybe that's a good time to cut back to Carta, right? You're on this hilltop. You're kind of on the edge of town, and that enemy Caesura unit with the railgun has peeled itself off the hilltop it fired at you from, and then kind of like disappeared momentarily. It's repositioning. So what is Carta doing?
I think Carta's doesn't like to be bested in these situations. Like, he's the fucking sniper. Like, he usually doesn't have to deal with that. There's a part of me that goes, maybe he wants to get up on, do a little combination of like a bombard, push himself to use the sharpshooter ability. When you push yourself in addition to normal benefits, you can do one of the following: make a range attack at extreme distance beyond what's normal for the weapon, unleashing a barrage of rapid fire to suppress the enemy, ricochet a shot to hit the target indirectly. What exactly that would be like, I'm still thinking, but maybe just kind of like, all right, you're going to do this, wait for them to show themselves, pop up force field, because I still think I have like one spot I can mark on my armor to do shield or force field, and like hopefully just like lay down some fucking heavy fire, maybe in his obsession with sniping, and that he knows that there's a possibility he knows that if he can hit a certain spot on this Caesura, like it's a known weak spot, like that he's like, if I can get like up underneath, like where, I don't know, where the pilot's chassis is, there's like a part that has some wires that is just going to cause everything to like fucking blow, kind of like
a shatter point,
the soft spot on Smaug's belly, Yeah, and I think it's just kind of like, fuck it. If this guy's going to start shooting at me, he's going to shoot me, and I'm going to be there to fire right back at him, and he's going to have to come out and fucking...
Okay, so you're marking this force field, and it's kind of like the force field is like you're just going to tank the first shot, and then...
In my mind, it's like, come on, motherfucker, come on! And then, like, taking shots, and then, like, as he maybe takes a shot, force field goes up, not yet, and then return to fire.
Yeah.
What if it's like a half barrier you're like shooting over?
Oh, that's cool. Ooh, okay. Maybe it's like kind of like a weird... Yeah, like I imagine like crouching behind like a brick wall. So it's like, you're going to come and get me? Fire. So it looks like he's going to have the entirety of the, like, the frame to fire at. Then the semaphore, once bullets are fired, drops down to one knee. And it's like all of a sudden half the target is gone. And I'm back down shooting from a different level.
Cool. Yeah. Is this like a thing that like it's deployed from it, or is it integral to the armor itself? Like, is there like a little like discus or something that pops out, hits the ground, and then the shield gets projected from that, or is it built into the mech in some way?
Yeah. Let's say I like the disc. Like, all right, maybe he just kind of tosses it out, like as he's like walking out to take shots, and then he just stomps it as he needs to and shoots up kind of hazy field in front of him, like, as he drops below it and hopefully is tempting the Caesura to come out and meet him.
I realize, unfortunately, I don't think that changes what you're doing here per se, except that if you push yourself, your mech will, you have expended your last quirk, your mech will go into breakdown afterwards.
Okay.
So that is up to you. We can talk about what happens when you kind of go into breakdown, if you would, but...
And that's if I push myself back. Okay.
That's if you push yourself. You would expend your last quirk, and when you've exhausted all of your quirks, it gains a breakdown tick. It is removed from the scene and the mission in a terrible state. You don't have to leave the scene of the mission, but your vehicle, for whatever, it would become unusable for the rest of the mission, and we can kind of talk through what that looks like exactly.
Okay. Well, then...
you could also, once it does go past its limits, once you exhaust all your quirks, you can always take a dire action. This is a thing we haven't talked about yet in the game, but maybe now's a good chance since it's possibly on the table. Normally, when you exhaust all of your stress, you are removed from a scene and you gain a trauma or a scar. I think they're called in the system, actually. Sorry, you gain a scar. And the same way that if your vehicle exhausts all its quirks, it takes a breakdown tick and is out for the rest of the mission. However, either pilots or vehicles, if they've exhausted all of their quirks or stress respectively, can still take a dire action. And this is kind of like, in a movie or something, right? It's like when you are pushing yourself past your limits, right? Like you are doing something that is going to hurt you to do it.
Blood is running down my nose as I fucking...
Yeah. And so when you take a dire action, you ignore your current damage penalties, and you get to take one more action even though you shouldn't be able to. And if you get a 6 on that action, you can continue acting. You can kind of keep chaining these actions.
Only a 6.
Only a 6. Otherwise, you get one move, and then at the end of the scene, or after taking the last action, the vehicle will take a level 3 damage, or vice versa. I think a pilot takes a level 3 harm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you wanted to push yourself, you could get into that zone, but you could also just not push yourself here and go off the dice that you have. It's dealer's choice, right?
And I'm looking at 2 dice right now, right?
You're looking at but I think this is Bombard. I would tell you this is risky. Standard, I think, would be limited normally.
Mm-hmm.
Limited normally because this is a higher tier vehicle than you, right? The Concordat that you're fighting have higher tier than your squad is. But you have a fine heavy cannon. It's fine. So it improves your effect. So that brings you back to standard. So you're at risky standard for a 2 dice Bombard. And I could also offer you a collateral die here if you'd like, which is you're going to take a level 1 harm. Like no matter what, like a bit of the shot spills over.
I think I'm going to I'll take the collateral on this one.
Sorry, when I said level 1 harm, I meant level 1
damage.
Damage, yeah. And so you're currently blistered, which I think is not having an effect here per se. I think blistered is maybe more about... I think you described like wires getting burnt away. So I think blistered is going to affect like scanners.
Okay.
And I think that your damage you'll take here is scored, as I think like one of the... What happens here, right? If you're taking this collateral die, let's like color it out a little bit. Carta's waiting. And you see this sniper unit come up and around like a hill, right? But you're in the open. You're kind of baiting him out to take this shot, and you drop that shield, and you start to go down behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same moment that Carta takes your shot, this guy fires that rail gun, and I think most of that rail gun, this big blue energy blast hits the shield, but it's kind of hits like the lip of the shield, and so there's like a portion of this energy beam that continues past, and I think like punches through the arm of the semaphore, and so this will be scored, and this will affect like going forward, like shooting and like physical actions for the semaphore.
Okay, well, I think that's still my best bet. Versus going into breakdown mode, which
fair, but this will not. You won't get less effect on this shot.
Okay, sweet. So that means I'm rolling
3d6 for Bombard to see if you manage to do this thing.
Yeah, let's see. 3d6, baby. Come on. Let's see what the dice are gonna say. Okay, 3, 4, 5.
So that is a success. A partial success. So a success at a cost. You win. You win the sniper duel here. I think that this is like exactly like Carta planned, right? You take the damage to withstand it. But yeah, this thing, this other sniper, like emerges, right? Like has you in their sights. We get the shot from their like targeting camera,
right.
Like the Concordat pilot inside of like, in this like little tank, their cockpit. And we get the targeting reticule lining up on the semaphore. And then like right as they start to pull for the burst, the shield drops, you snap down, and you're shot in return, right? I think we like trace that big blue beam of energy coming from their railgun. Mm-hmm. And then we just get, like the reverse shot from Carta's like targeting sensor as we see the enemy unit explode, right? That mech just goes up in like a ball of fire across the distance out in the foothills of Farron's Bluff.
We see Carta flip out a knife, a little tick mark into his, I don't know, he's got some kind of scratch mark where he keeps tally of anyone who's beaten a sniper match.
There is still a consequence here, right? This is a partial success.
Of course.
And so I'm going to introduce something we haven't seen yet in the system, but which is a cool feature. I'm going to junk one of your pieces of gear. And that's going to be this force shield. I think what that looks like is like it takes the brunt of this railgun's blast, right? But it's a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just overloads the shield. And so we see it, like, after it absorbs that blast, like, flicker, and then there's like sparks, like, and then, like smoke like shooting out of this like discus on the ground, and that force field like flickers, and then vroom, shuts down. So this gear is now junked, which means that it still takes up a slot in your
But not to be used again.
inventory. Yeah, but you cannot use it again until you spend a supply point during downtime to unequip it, and then you can like use it again. But basically, it's like a piece of defective gear that's going to take up load in your inventory until eventually, in a downtime session, you spend the materials you need to make it usable again.
Yeah. Okay, after that happens, Carta's semaphore is kind of reeling back, arms, been hit a bit, and lets him know that things have been dealt with out on my front. Coming in. Where do you want me to head?
Who are you talking to?
Either one of you. Who needs hand? You want cover on the station? Rhodes, you need someone down there?
I need help really, really bad right now.
Yeah, I'll handle my end. Take care of Des.
All right, I'm heading through these foothills. I'm coming up your way, Des. Let me know. I'll start laying down fire as soon as I can, wherever you need it.
Heard that.
Yeah, so let's turn the camera, as Carta, as you start scaling through these foothills, right? You're headed up towards Passerine Station.
Correct.
I think, you've escaped the immediate threat of that sniper, so I'm not going to make you like roll or anything to get up there. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time, which is also probably the time that Des is like using to, sneak out through the building back out to the courtyard in Passerine Station, right? So I think timing wise, we'll probably say that those two things are going to kind of happen such that I think Carta is going to get close to the station at the same time Des is going to get back out of the facilities. So when we turn our camera back to you, we'll kind of be there. But yeah, let's come back to Rhodes. You are in the temple square. I think you're on top of the temple right now, right? That's kind of where we...
Yes. I think I just kind of got knocked back and was like... or no, we had slashed and then kind of jumped forward and we were having this like...
Yeah.
Like anime kind of both sides strike, but still standing.
Yeah, exactly. Like the comprehension of grace had come off the temple rooftop, and as you had shot up at it, and so I think the comprehension of grace. This, like I said, it's got these like long arms and these golden claws, and this kind of like long, sinewy neck with this just flat golden relief of a human face. And I think that like that neck is kind of swaying almost as this face is like looking up at you. And it's got this big filigreed, like I said, kind of coil on its back. And I think this filigreed coil, as the comprehension of grace is looking up at you, sparks and like little like bolts and jolts of like arcs of like electricity are kind of coming off of it and just like striking at the ground around it. And I think at the same time, the stampede is coming to a close. It's not fully over. There are still, I think, drovers on dust cutters, herding the last of these triops through, kind of knocking down these Concordat guards. There are still, I think the crowd has really started to thin out now that there are armors in the square fighting, right? The scale has upped. Probably like some of those turrets that are like still up, the last of the ceremony defense force. I think it's probably started to turn its attention back to the stampede, right? Mm-hmm. I think that maybe like we see one of those guns starting to open fire. They're kind of like picking at pot shots down at the passing drovers and triops. And so that's kind of the moment that we are coming right back into. Yeah, Rhodes on the rooftop, the comprehension of grace, charging up, as it were. These arcs starting to come off of this coil with a little bit more intensity and frequency as it's looking up at you. And the rest of the defense force kind of turning their attention to the rioters and the stampede. And two Caesura units from the garrison somewhere. They have not shown up in the town square yet. I think their current positioning is a little bit of a mystery for everyone.
Sounds like quickly going to be outnumbered here. I think as like the Redshift is sort of like, leaned over, a spear in hand, having just kind of like gone, past each other, I think would sort of like lean over and turn the chassis like back to look over the shoulder, still kind of reared down. Trying to figure out what exactly this thing is like rearing to do next, the evocator's machine.
All right, is that like are you like gathering information here? Is that what you're shooting to do?
I think mostly. So you said when the backpack lightning unit started to crackle,
yeah,
right? Like, is it calling a storm down like on top of us?
I think that there are, like I said before, like There are like storm clouds that have kind of started to like gather in the area. I think it is creating a localized weather event. But I think you also saw earlier that it can direct that electricity from that coil directly. It struck you down when you tried to come at it the first time. Without a roll, I think Rhodes knows that like this thing has some kind of like fundamental electric power, but also that it seems to be maybe building a situation where it will have even more power or advantage, right?
Yeah. Can I do like whatever, like while there's this split second here leaning forward, can I, use the redshift to release like a scan pulse? What I want to try to figure out here is using the sensor array, if I can determine if there's a weak point. I'm thinking maybe it's the backpack or something where I can, create like an overload basically to create something like an EMP here.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think that sounds like a scan action for sure. I think you have like the high ground in this moment, and I think there is still risk to this though. Often like a gather information is like a fortune roll. There's no risk involved.
Yeah, but I'm wasting the time to like.
But because you're not taking like an offensive action, because you've seized the high ground on the temple, and because it doesn't seem like the comprehension of grace is like moving immediately to like attack, it's there's kind of a pause moment here. I think that this is going to be controlled standard. Yeah.
So there will be a consequence if I fail?
Yes, this is not consequence free. I think on a failure here, it'll be a controlled failure, right? So it won't be a bad consequence comparatively, but like, I don't think that you can spend the time to like analyze your opponent's weak point in this kind of pitched duel without opening yourself up to the possibility of reprisal.
And if I exert a quirk, I can push?
Yeah, you can spend a quirk here to push yourself for an extra die.
Okay. I'm going to use a quirk. I have one of my quirks listed as aggressive auto-targeting.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So I'm going to hit that, and that'll give me 2d6, which I'm going to roll now. Fuck me. God damn it. It's a 4 and a 1.
Hey, that 4 is still a success, though.
Okay.
A mixed success, but still a success.
I think like on screen, it's like there's like a sonar pulse almost, right? Which is just like, maybe you could like see the dust ripple or something as like a pulse emanates out from the redshift. While on screen, I think it's like picking up in the mech cockpit, monitor is flagging like energy sources, right? Or like concentrations of energy.
Right, yeah. And I think there's like we talked about this. This is a redshift is like this kind of like this relic machine, this like ancient machine with kind of like capabilities that are like not even Rhodes fully understands. And I think part of that is like fundamental capability. I think this thing is like, we get like screens within screens, like analyzing like the fundamental nature of what is happening here. Capital F here when I say fundamental, like the kind of like energy field that saturates this world. The redshift is picking up the fluctuations in the fundament around you and like pinpointing like how this other machine is exerting its will in that way. And on a partial success, I will say it pinpoints another thing as this pulse goes out, which is I am going to decrease a clock here. I'm going to remove ticks from a clock. I'm removing 2 ticks from the ceremony defense force, as on the edge of the town square, one of these Caesura units arrives, but only one. You knew that there were 2 that were originally headed from the garrison this direction. Only one of them arrives kind of on the edge of the town square. Or maybe not. It's like about to arrive. It's kind of heading there. It's right outside. You pick it up on your scanners. And so, in just a moment, there will be another armor in the fray here.
So, incoming.
Yeah, but you have a beat before I think it arrives. And that is the consequence for this roll.
Sorry, just to clarify one piece. The scan pulse picked up fundamental energy, meaning that this thing that's approaching on reinforcements is a Concordat mech of the Evocator's caliber, or it's...
No. The one that's approaching is like kind of a standard field unit of the Concordat military. The fundamental manipulations that it's picking up are coming from the Evocator's mech. Besides, like, probably there's like a fundamental reactor also in like the other Concordat unit, you're picking that up, but that's like standard issue, just like how this machine is powered. But like the manipulation of the fundament, the kind of like extreme strangeness is all coming from the comprehension of grace. And so let's go over again. Like what exactly you were trying to find with the scan?
A weak point on the comprehension of grace. Like I'm thinking it's like maybe if I can like line up a clean shot on the backpack, I can like overload this lightning unit thing. And I'm really just trying to figure out. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm trying to detect like a weak point that would disable or at least stall and buy time.
I think for sure the thing that you figure out on this is that like the that filigreed coil that it has on the back is the source of its primary like fundamental manipulations. It is the thing that is like letting it affect the world around it, create the storm, emit these like lightning strikes, and it is the disabling it or like messing with it would definitely have, I think you can tell, like the greatest effect on the machine, right? I think you can sense that there's a lot of fundamental energy being transferred from back and forth from the machine into this coil, right?
Is its back still turned to me?
Probably it's, I would imagine that she would have turned to face you, but you have the higher ground. So I think you still have kind of like an angle. You have like a vantage. So that and it's a big, bulky, this coil is pretty big, right? It's not like I think the coil itself is like the same size as the torso of the machine that it's on. So it's like it's hard for her to like hide it, right?
Okay, cool. So with that quirk expended on aggressive auto targeting, I'm imagining the monitor just starts lighting up, right? And it's like HUD reticles like crosshairing on like a bunch of these different spots of stuff nearby, and including I think like a big one on this filigreed coil. And I want to as it's like, I'm imagining like there's like, radar pings, right? It's like, like as it comes in tighter there. And I want to mark another piece of vehicle gear on like a rack of missiles or rockets. And I think like off the back of the Redshift, like, which I think has like a sort of backpack unit thing, like sort of shutter, like blinds like open off the back of it, revealing like, a series of these like rocket cylinders. And I think it's like, I'm thinking of, there's like one picture of some like big heavy cargo plane that's like running all those like Sidewinder missiles off. And I think like just like a series of these like this like rocket barrage emanates out from the back, targeting this filigree. And like, I'm going to try and see what I can do off of this aggressive auto targeting.
All right. So let's look at that, right? I think this is risky, but I think we could even treat, we treated the thing you did before as gathering information. I realize that's kind of a mistake. It probably should have been treated more as like a setup role. You know what I mean? Because like what you're doing, right, is you were giving yourself, you were increasing, your, I think, effect in this case, right? And so that normally that would have been, let's say, I think this is still a risky position. I don't think you can like kind of strike down at this mech, as it's gearing up to also make an attack. I think this is definitely a risky position versus like a controlled one.
I'm thinking this is close range enough to still maybe qualify for battle.
I think this is battle. Yeah, no, for sure. You're firing rockets, which like you could maybe make the argument for bombard or like destroy, but like this is like targeted, so I don't think it's destroy, which is like a little bit more like carpet. Like it describes like carpet bombing is like a destroy thing. I think this is battle, right? You engage in vehicular close quarters combat.
Yeah. I'm imagining these are sort of like in the first season of The Mandalorian, they're like singing birds, right? Where they like home in quickly. And so I'm going to roll 2.
Yes, this is, sorry, I was getting to the effect. This is risky great because of that setup roll, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think because you succeeded on that roll, I think this is going to be a risky great effect to start.
Okay. I've got to, pushing would be 2 stress, right?
Pushing, you're in your mech, it would be spending a quirk.
Oh, okay. I've already expended the quirk on aggressive auto targeting, so I'll just take it. I'm going to roll 2d6. Oh my god, it's double ones.
Oh,
snake eyes.
Oh, brother. Things are looking rough for the Black Star Constellation in the back half of this mission. So that was risky, great effect. So these rockets like emerge, right? Out and then circling around, kind of coming all in at once to like come around the back and strike this filigree coil. And as they get, kind of within range in the air, snapping, like little arcs of lightning start shooting off the back of the coil. And it's like, as soon as they enter this kind of field of influence, every single one of these rockets just gets popped off by a little bolt of electricity, right? Just like little sizzles, like crack, 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 crack. And there's just like, a cloud of smoke in the air surrounding this mech. I think what happens after that is that, this cloud of smoke fills the air as a result of all of these destroyed rockets, so much so that the temple square below Rhodes is obscured for a moment. And then, emerging through the cloud of smoke, coming through the air is the comprehension of grace, having like launched itself up. And I think it's like, it doesn't have thrusters, but I think it's like kind of hands are down. And, there's like these sparks of electricity coming off of it. It's kind of like levitating itself up and through the air.
Mm-hmm. Just hurtling out of this cloud. I can see the ring kind of parting in the black smoke. Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving so fast, that like the smoke gets pulled along behind it as it pushes through the cloud. It emerges through the cloud, and the comprehension of grace lands on the temple roof next to you or near you, right? It doesn't like launch itself directly at you, but I think like lands like down there next to you. And then two more kind of like big bolts of electricity like arc off the back of this thing. And I think we still see those rocket pods, kind of emerge from the backpack of the Redshift. And these two arcs of electricity go from that filigree coil to those pods and just ignite the spare rockets still inside them. And I'm going to do the same thing I did to Tim here. I'm going to junk those rockets. I think you do not have the rack of missiles or rockets anymore. The Redshift is now like a little bit more limited in its armament. And I think also I'm going to tick another clock here, which is that just because as time is passing, the Stampede is coming to a close. It has one segment left, but the drovers are almost out of town now. I think the last of the triops are kind of have made their way through at this point. I think now that's just like getting the herd reunited on the other side of town, which also leaves, I think, Rhodes with not that you had a ton of support in the square, but you're now kind of like, I think, becoming the sole focus of the remaining forces in the square. And so that is, I think, why this is now becoming a desperate situation. But yeah, I think there's a beat there. I think those rocket pods explode on either side of you. You like warning lights flash on the screens inside the Redshift. And you are now like face to face staring down the comprehension of grace, which I think is like not just on the other side of this roof from you, like pretty close. And I think hands raised, those like long curved claws on the ends of its arms, like gleaming in the light here. What do you do?
I think first thing is like patching through to Carta. It'd be like, Carta, get our boy, get out of here. I'm working on borrowed time.
I'm not going to leave you behind, so don't do anything too dumb. I'll be there as soon as I can.
And I think I'm going to just like charge at it. And I still have the spear in hands, right? Because the rockets are like hand free.
Yeah. You still have that lance, yeah.
I'm going to just like fire off the rear thrusters and just like straight try to just drive this like lance into the heart of this mech in front of me. With that, one of the features of the Redshift is like an experimental. It's the playbook defines it as the Rage engine, a reflex adjustment and guidance engine. It's an interface system that, when activated, greatly enhances the pilot's ability at their cost of survival instincts for several minutes. So ignoring that last transmission. And I can improve position and effect in maneuvering, but I also suffer the consequences of death wish and possibility hallucinations that can be resisted as normal. So
you're activating this Rage engine?
I am. And I think like in the second, like what I'm leveraging here is maneuverability, because I want to try to plunge the spear into its heart and then get the heck out of here. And so I think what this like looks like in fiction is, we've mentioned like this kind of like sort of bluish radiation glow, like, burning from the chest piece of the Redshift. And I think here it like burns really bright, and like inside the cockpit, I think like on the controls, like the monitors are just humming, and the like, machine itself is just like hotter, like a temperature inside increases. Mm-hmm. And I almost think like the that the same like blue color, I think, like in the wiring in this cockpit, like sort of almost like starts to reach out like tendrils, right, and like straps down like hands to the actual controls. And I think these like tendrils kind of like are spreading, right, like from the cockpit like over Rhodes's like legs and hands, binding him to the machine here for as long as this is active.
Sick. So yeah, you are getting the consequences: death wish and possibility hallucinations. Are you going to choose to resist either of those?
So those automatically happen.
That happens when you activate the rage engine. You suffer the consequences: death wish and possibility hallucinations. Now, these are consequences; they're not harm. They won't stay on the sheet after this, but they are like things that I will think about in terms of adjusting your position and effect, and in terms of inflicting consequences on you furthermore as you roll your dice.
So yes, and I think that part of this is that Rhodes hasn't been in front of a Concordat machine like in several decades, and I think like the sort of like it's like blood in the water, and like visions of his like homeworld, Feldspar, back where the Concordat originally like sundered the planet that he was from, just start flashing to mind as like this chance to just like do damage to one of these Concordat machines is too enticing to ignore. And I'm just trying to like hurt this thing and ultimately save enough time so my friends can get out of here.
So you're not going to resist either of the consequences?
So resisting is you roll against. How does it work for two consequences?
You would have to resist each one separately, and you would take 6 stress minus the highest result of your die roll, which I think would be resolve here. Right? That feels like this is like a resolve thing, right? To resolve to kind of like marshal your willpower to overcome these like.
So it's not harm.
It is not harm. It will not stay on the sheet after this scene, but it will affect my kind of my narrative choices as we go forward.
And so I have 2 in the resolve category, giving me 2d6 to resist.
So yeah, you would roll 2d6. You would take 6 stress minus the highest result of that roll if you wanted to resist either one of these. Again, possibility hallucinations and death wish are the 2.
Yeah, I'm going to try to resist them normally.
Which one would you like to start with here?
Let's do possibility hallucinations.
Okay. So that is, you're going to take 6 stress minus, this has a chance of stressing you out, just to be clear.
And I got to do both?
I think so. I think right. This is, you suffer the consequences, death wish and possibility hallucinations. That is plural.
Yep.
I will say, I just throw this out there. If you want to choose which one seems more important, death wish is going to affect your ability to decide to want to disengage. Right? I will give you, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you don't get rid of death wish, you're going to have reduced effect on rolls to try and get out of the scenario because you have a death wish. Why would you want to leave?
Okay.
So again, and if you do stress out, you could always take a dire action. It's just a level 3 harm.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty serious. Dez is like pretty hurt. Carta's like running to try and save Dez. I'm gonna do it, and I've also said it on mic now, so I feel like I can't back down.
Cool. So you are resisting one of these consequences, yeah?
Okay, so let me I'm gonna resist Death Wish first, and if that goes really poorly, then I'll just take possibility hallucinations.
Okay, so you are taking 6 stress minus the highest result of 2d6 here.
That's a bad idea.
We were on such a good roll earlier too, and now it's.
Hey, I believe. Okay, this is my destiny. Okay, rolling 2d6. It's a 4.
Okay, so you take 2 stress.
Yep.
You have successfully resisted a death wish. That leaves you with 1 stress.
Yeah, and I'm going to stay. I'll take possibility hallucination.
So let me narrate this a little bit, right? Because I think these tendrils come out. These like cables are like encircling Rhodes. I imagine connecting to Rhodes too, right?
I'm imagining them like you can see them like how vines kind of grow into brick to keep crawling. Like I'm imagining them kind of like penetrating the surface, and you could almost see the tendril like subdermal kind of spreading a little bit, maybe mirroring the evocators, like scarring kind of thing.
And so I will say, as you connect to the machine, right, I kind of think like what's happening here in what some sense, it's almost like Rhodes is a synthetic being, an artificial being. And it's almost, I think, like as you like activate this engine, this rage engine, right? I almost feel like it's like connecting your mind to like the processing power of the redshift, right? And so it's like suddenly your processing power has like multiplied exponentially. And I think as these like scanners are coming up, like all of like the sensory inputs that the Redshift has are connecting directly to Rhodes now. There's no delay or limit between you and the information that the Redshift is collecting. And the Redshift is collecting so much information, not even just the stuff that you realize that it's collecting, right? But all of these like minute little like pieces of data that the machine sensors are always gathering, including these fundamental sensors. And it's all washing in at once. And it's like, yeah, right. Yeah, like mind exploding, right? Like statistical models of probability of successes are like flying through Rhodes's mind in rapid succession for every possible angle of this attack. And the other thing that kind of happens as you connect in the sense that you get, and it's like hard to pin down exactly how you get this sense, right? But like you just know it as the connection happens. The machine is excited that you've activated this, that you've done it again. Right? Like to be connected again, like there's a sense of contentment and like excitement that just surges through you that feels like it's coming from outside, but then washes over you and becomes your own excitement. And that's the thing you have to tamp down, right? That's the death wish that you kind of seize control of. Because for a moment there, as like you connect with the machine, like the particle lance like glows even hotter, that blue radiation just emitting from the machine. And it's like a perfect synthesis of like desire and execution, right? You are doing the thing you were meant to do, and you could do this forever because you're perfect at it.
Yeah, it's just like pure autonomic, like it's synthesis. I like it.
And with that engine activated, this charge forward now, rethinking about your position and effect. This is definitely a battle. You have 2d6. I think that this is maybe just for this first moment, it was desperate. It's not desperate anymore. It's, I'd say, risky with great effect. You've completely overcome any tier difference between you and the comprehension of grace. You are fighting on completely equal footing, and more than that now, right? So risky, great. There's still danger here. Things could go wrong, but it's 2d6 risky. You have great effect.
Okay. And I can't really afford to push, so I'm gonna just charge forward with this like lance out front and kind of just drive it forward.
You do have 2 quirks. You could push safely still. I would just throw it out there if it's important to you. But you might want to save them. That's also...
Yeah, I'm just gonna roll 2d6 for now.
Okay.
All right.
2d6, risky, great.
It's a 3.
No. Oh, that is 2 3s.
Trying out here, fellas.
We're trying real hard.
There's nothing to do with us. We're doing fine.
And maybe it's because, this is like the first mission Rhodes has ridden the Redshift in a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is like tied into those possibility hallucinations. You see so many possible angles of approach and attack that I think you're overwhelmed. And that is the thing that it causes you to misjudge. And so you come in with this, that's a full failure here. This was not a partial success.
Yep. This is desperate, or I changed it?
You changed it to risky. This is no longer desperate. I think, you come into, with this like sweeping forward with this thrust, and you hit a spot where just a moment ago, like the core of the comprehension of grace would have been. But it's like, as you're coming in to make that deadly blow, you realize you're not striking at where it really is. You're striking at like a place that it could have been in one statistical model, but it has shifted just ever so slightly. And so the lance kind of comes in right under its arm, and it through the air, this crackle coming off of it. And as you kind of like there, like I think the redshift kind of collides a little bit body to body against the comprehension of grace. And I think that these 2 long arms wrap around the redshift, and those golden claws dig into like these sides, scraping against the armor. And then that coil just buzzes as these arcs of electricity emit from it and run along the length of these long arms, along down these golden curved claws, right into the Redshift. And I think you're taking the level 2 damage overloaded, which you could resist, which I think would cause a breakdown on the mech. I think you would exhaust 4 quirks, and 4 quirks minus the number of attributes, the number of pips you have in your attribute, which I think would still be 2. So it would expend all of your quirks to resist this damage here, which would put you into breakdown. You could expend armor. I think you still have enough armor on the mech that you could expend armor and reduce this to a level 1 damage. Dealer's choice. Otherwise, you can take the 2 damage as these jolts of fundamental electricity are just like channeled through the comprehension of grace directly into the Redshift.
Yeah, I'm gonna expend the armor, which kind of puts me at my max load. But I think it's the ceramic plating on this, which is Concordat made, which maybe is built to like absorb some of this like fundamental electricity. It is a Concordat mech, so I think maybe you do see like and I'm gonna wear this permanently, whatever. Like I think that these like slash claw marks or something like kind of extend from like the back of the chassis to the front, kind of like in a cross pattern, but you can see it like tear through and leave like deep gashes in the ceramic.
Okay. So yeah, let's reduce that overloaded to fried circuits and burnt servos, I think is the second. This other level 1 harm or level 1 damage, which I think will affect like burnt servos are going to affect like movement and like physicality. I think you will have reduced effect going forward on that. And I think, this like jolt of electricity, and I think the Redshift is stunned there for a moment. And then I think that the comprehension of grace kicks the Redshift off the roof, sends you back down into the square. It has kind of exchanged positions again. It has seized the high ground.
Okay.
And, as that happens, I think we're going to cut back to the other squad here. Okay. Situation critical, guys. Let's talk it out. I think at the same time that like I said, the semaphore is moving through the hills. I think at a certain point, for speed, you realize like you kind of come out onto the path that leads up to the gates of Passerine Station. And so Carta, you're like schlepping up this hill in the mech, the semaphore. There's smoke rising from the town square. You can see it. I think you've gotten your messages from Rhodes. Things are getting serious down there. And so as the semaphore is coming up towards Passerine Station, I think Des, you are moving through the facility building. Klaxon alarms are going off, and I think we even get the shot here. Of there are more Concordat soldiers streaming into the building who have come from the other like little security building on this compound. And I think, I'm not going to make you roll here because I think in the chaos with your optical camo still active, there's like some tense moments of like up against a wall, but you're able to avoid detection getting out of there. Because what I kind of want, I think, is like this moment of like, Des, you emerge back out into the open air of the compound, and, it was a nice sunny day. There are now clouds overhead, so it's kind of a gray sky as you emerge out. But it's still, kind of into a less chaotic arena from the alarm-filled, soldier-filled building you were just in. So I think you emerge from there, and it's the same time you kind of emerge out into this clearing. I think you can see the semaphore cresting the lip of the hill to the south. There's a Concordat soldier in this little like sentry tower who I think has started firing some kind of like rifle at the semaphore, but it's small infantry arms. It's just like shots pinging off the dark green armor of this surveying mech. And I think on the flip side, Carta, you as I said, as you come up, you're coming towards there's this like big compound, this like 15-foot high fence topped with razor wire, which is still smaller than the semaphore. You can probably just push through it. There is this like sentry tower, kind of just like a little like guard watchtower right near like the gates of this facility. And there is like an armored soldier there who's in there who's there to deal with infantry attacks. Usually is not equipped for an anti-armor weapon, but is valiantly firing off like an assault rifle at this mech that is coming up the hill. You can't see Desmond. Desmond has optical camo on, but Desmond has just come into the main square of this compound laid out in front of you. And I think you're getting like little impact readings as this infantry soldier is firing his rifle, but he's not doing any damage to the semaphore. So yeah. So you get these impacts, from this assault rifle hitting, and then the machine registers another impact. And I think even you feel the semaphore shake with a hit. But it's the sensor readings, like this is not an impact from this assault rifle; it's from behind. And I think you can see at the bottom of this hill, kind of coming up the bluff, is the missing Caesura unit, the one that was supposed to head to the town square, but which has been redirected since the alarm started going off at Passerine Station. So there's this humanoid Concordat mech, this kind of like, looks like very knightly, very human, with this it's got a big circular shield on its arm, right? That is raised up. And I think there are barrels kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? There are barrels inside the front of this shield that are kind of like recessed in the front of it. And there is basically, it's like firing a machine gun from the shield as it's advancing up the hill. And then I think in its other arm, held forward and kind of like locked into a notch on this big circular shield, it is holding a like spear. I think it's hard not to think of the Redshift's particle lance as we see it, right? But I think the blade is like less impressive. It's not as like it's not burning with as fierce a fundamental energy, but it does have an energy blade extending from the end of this spear that is kind of like locked in, very like Greco-Roman in its kind of like armament and aesthetic. And it is marching up the hill, these machine guns mounted into the front of its shield, kind of firing off as it is making its way up towards Passerine Station. And so, you're there at the front of the gates. And at the same time, Desmond, you've just gotten out. You see the semaphore, and then I think you see the semaphore rock with the force of getting kind of struck by the machine gun from behind. And, that quiet that you had is, punctuated now by the bursts of gunfire from this guy in the watchtower, and then the louder kind of echoing reverbs of this machine gun firing at the base of the bluff. So what are you guys doing? What's the plan here? How is the Black Star Constellation going to resolve the situation and get the hell out of here?
I'm getting on the comms right now, and I'm going to talk to Carta. I'm saying, Carta, please, would you be so kind? Please blow a fucking hole in the wall. I'm not climbing back over that thing.
Okay.
I'm walking out of here, okay?
Sure. Yeah, as that comes through, I think, in kind of a quick succession, it's kind of like splitting his thoughts between the Caesura coming at him and the wall. It's kind of like not breaking eye contact with the Caesura and just kind of like arm guns like across the yard, just puncturing a fucking hole into it. I don't know if that needs to be a roll, but it's kind of like obviously not trying to hit Des, but like just there's the fucking hole, go.
Yeah, you're able to shoot that fence. I'm not making you roll to open the fence up with your mech. I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, do that so that Des has a quicker escape than trying to climb over. And then for the shield, I guess Carta wants to try to do the classic one sweet round down the barrel of the gun in their like in the shield.
Mm-hmm.
And have it jam up and kind of blow up their shields and blow them back as he lands that perfect shot down the barrel of whatever they're shooting at him to knock him back.
Kind of sounds like battle to me at the range that you're at. Are you using your machine guns or your rifle here? I guess it kind of sounded like rifle, I guess, is your...
I think that makes more sense. Like machine gun kind of just spray the shield. I think this is like a directed down the fucking barrel to barrel kind of. Yeah, like, Looney Tunes where the gun barrel curls back is like...
Okay, yeah, I think this is risky. I think even though you have your fine heavy cannon, I think it's only standard because you have this reduced effect from your damage on the mech. I think this is risky standard. Again, you could push yourself here. This would put you into breakdown.
Take my last quirk, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's the 1d6.
Christ in heaven. Okay. I guess I'll just take the 1 I don't want to spin the quirk and have it not go good, I guess. So just rolling 1d6. Okay. Let's see how that goes. 5.
That's a partial success.
Partial success.
Here
Whew.
and
Oh, okay.
All right, a partial success in this scenario. I think this is reduced effect is what this looks like here. You line up the shot, you fire this rifle, and you hit the machine gun on the shield as the Caesura is advancing forwards. And it kind of goes how you're hoping it will. Like you hit the shield and like in the gun port, it ignites the ammunition inside. And I think the shield like explodes outward like like steel bent out like confetti shatters of ammunition and shrapnel, but the shield does what it's supposed to do. It absorbs the brunt of the damage, and so you've taken away its protection. And definitely, like I think that arm, right, kind of like hangs limp at the side of the machine now, right? Like the arm that had the shield built and attached into it is like now also just like destroyed and shattered by the force of the impact of this explosive sniper round impacting against it. But the mech is not down. And so I think like one hand like hanging limply, this Caesura just starts sprinting, and it is sprinting, right? It's moving like in a human motion and like a surprising speed for a machine its size, sprinting with this spear held, kind of charging the semaphore. Before we get your reaction, I want to cut to like what is Des doing? Des, you've got an exit to your mech now on the other side of the fence. You still need to bring down this broadcast tower somehow. Or this broadcast facility, whether it's the generators, whether it's the tower, whether it's something for this mission is to be a success, this station needs to be shut down. What is Desmond doing while Carta holds off the approaching mech?
Well, I'm going to tick the supplies, placed explosives.
Yeah, a brick of moldable explosive putty with a timer or remote detonator. Never quiet.
And I'm going to place it around the generator building. And yeah, I'm just going to just put a bunch around there. And then as I'm leaving, I'm going to hit the detonator switch and blow it up.
Maybe this is, I mean, your call. I think a couple different moves you could use here, but I think maybe if it's just about like the speed of getting it done in time, maybe like prowl, right? Just like you're hustling. I will say to hustle, right? To like move quickly and get this done. I do think sliced will come into effect here. I think you will get -1 dice. So I think, yeah, this is risky standard to get these explosives like placed and ready to detonate in like a timely fashion. Like I said, sounds like prowl to me, but if you have an argument for a different action, I'd be happy to hear it.
No, it's prowl.
You can push yourself here, but otherwise you're rolling 1 dice.
I'm pushing myself here, yeah, definitely.
As 2 stress, just putting you really close to the limit as well. And so Desmond, yeah, right. This is like sprinting, slapping these like explosive charges on like the different sides of this generator building, just like trying to get enough down in time that you guys can get out of here, I think is what's happening, right? Okay, so you're pushing yourself, which gives you an extra dice, which makes up for your sliced injury here. That's 2d6. Like I said, risky standard to just like move quickly, get this on here. You could, we haven't been able to do this for most of this mission, but he's there now. So you're in the same place. Carta, do you want to assist on this roll?
Yeah, over the comms, it's you take your time, make sure that it's done. I'll hold them off as long as I can. Let me know when we're ready to roll.
And so yeah, that is, and punctuated by like a burst of fire to kind of like buy you a little bit more time, right?
Yeah.
So Carta, you have 2 connections with Desmond.
I do.
Which means that when you assist him, it's going to cost you 2 stress instead of 1.
Alrighty.
However, instead of giving him just 1 benefit, because you guys have 2 connections, you can give him 2 benefits to his roll from the assistance like kind of list, which is in addition to giving him 1 dice, you can give him another effect. And the list of assist effects here is he could take 1 dice. You could have an improved effect. You could have an improved position, or he could ignore a level 3 harm or damage. Obviously, neither of those is active, so you could give him improved effect or position here. Change this from risky to controlled standard, or change it from risky standard to risky great effect.
Great effect, I imagine, is what we would want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's risky great. Is that what
Yeah.
we're going for? Okay, so that is 3d6. So go ahead and roll those 3 dice. That's a 6, baby.
Oh my
That's
god!
a 6.
Oh my god!
A
We
6,
needed that,
a 2,
baby.
and a 5. We need that 6.
Oh,
We needed that.
That's the first. That is the first 6 tonight, I believe.
oh my god!
And with great effect, Des, I think that means you are able to do this. You're able to overcome your injury. Maybe it's just the adrenaline, it's pumping. You don't even notice it anymore. But you are able to, with speed and efficiency, pinpoint like the exact places on this structure that you need to, in rapid succession, plant these charges to, ensure that as soon as you set these detonators off, this thing is going to come down. And it's going to be probably a big explosion as well. This is like a fundamental reactor system. You're probably going to, I think, on great effect, you're able to set this up that once these go off, it's not just going to take out these generators, it's going to incite an explosion that's probably going to wipe this station out completely.
Yeah, does that mean I'm going to have to do some duck and cover kind of?
It does mean that there is a mech still charging up the hill at you guys.
Sure. I guess I say that because is this like something where Des is like, boom, planted, they're going to go off. And as he's charging, I just kind of give him the well, see you later, duck, dive, avoid any kind of shrapnel as that shit just wipes him.
I don't think you're setting it off right now, right? I think you're probably clearing the area first.
We still got to clear it? Okay. In my mind, I didn't know if I could just jump out of
it. Just kind of cool guy jump away from the explosion.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a pretty big blast. I assume that I think
you're just saying I'm not that cool. I get it.
I think there's still getting out of the zone is kind of the final step to succeeding here, which I don't know if this is Des, are you letting everyone know on mic hey, we have succeeded?
Yes. I have a feeling this is going to be a really big explosion. So get the fuck out of here. I'm going back to the Mercuria, and I'm going back down the cliff. Let's see you guys at the rendezvous point.
Are you just ditching? You're just peace, Carta?
Let's go. Come on. Come with me, obviously, but
But I got a guy running at me.
There is a mech charging up the hill at the semaphore.
Well, okay. Well, I'll help you out with that first.
Thank
I guess.
you.
So how do you guys want to deal with that? Let's deal with that, and then we can cut to Rhodes. I want to get your escape, and then we can cut to how Rhodes disentangles himself from his situation.
Maybe even just slightly a call back to earlier. It's a classic Des in his frame come up behind, drop to one knee. I shoot, kind of go for the ankles of this thing. Well, Des hits it in the chest because I'm kind of, in my mind, I'm covering it, and it's drop to shooting positions, boom, boom, boom. Shots come over my shoulder.
Oh, okay. You're gonna tandem just take this mech out. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
about?
just again in a maybe an image that will be repeated throughout the game of just Carta going from standing to squat down, let loose from a lower position they were expecting, and then you got Des there behind to add an extra set of guns to the equation.
Well, does the Mercuria have weapons? What is the Mercuria armed with?
Yeah, it does. I think the last time I had no, let me think about this.
Yeah, you don't have anything marked right now. So
I don't have anything marked. I can mark whatever I want. I'm probably not going to go with heavy cannon because that's going to fill up my entire loadout. Could just go with a machine gun.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with the machine gun. Classic.
Okay, so this is the Mercuria coming out of cloaking right beside the semaphore, both of them opening up at this Caesura that's charging up the hill at you with this spear.
It definitely, comes out of my tank head. It's a 50 cal machine gun. Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. That sounds to me like a team action, group action. I think just mechanically speaking, if we're being smart about it, Carta probably wants to be the leader here because Carta has stress to spare if there's a failed roll, and Des would take a scar. Yeah, he would stress out. So this definitely sounds like battle to me, right?
Battle. Yep.
So you have 1d6 in battle, or you have 1 dice in battle, right, Carta? Des, you have none. So you'd be rolling 2d6 and taking the lowest results, unless you want to expend a quirk here.
I'll do that.
Oh yeah, you haven't spent any quirks. Yeah, you've got room to spare, so you can push yourself for an extra die. Which quirk are you expending here? What do we see?
I'm gonna go with omnipedal orientation, and I think I was in the sort of 4-legged configuration,
Mm-hmm.
and now I've whipped up. I'm standing on 2 legs. I'm in a bipedal orientation,
Ready to fire.
ready to fire.
Especially the visual of you going from like the
I like the idea of like,
quadrupedal to
seeing
standing
that,
as I drop
in
down.
the sprint from like quadrupedal, like a
Yeah.
fluid motion of changing to being a bipedal. That's like a pretty cool image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that gives you 1 dice. So you're both rolling 1d6. You only need 1 success to succeed at the roll here. Go ahead and both roll your dice.
And a 5.
I also got a 5.
That is 2 5s.
Not bad.
Not bad. There still is a consequence here, which is, it's like a desperate moment of realization, right? This Caesura's running up the hill. It already knows he's running into incoming fire, and then the second mech kind of appears, materializes as the cloaking field dissipates. And as a desperate last act, he hurls that javelin, this like kind of energy spear it's been holding, just throws it as like the bursts of fire start to light up and destroy the mech. And I think Desmond, you got a real clean looking mech right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that this is, maybe this is just damage. I think it throws the spear and it like lands square in like the shoulder joint of the Mercuria's arm, right? As you've risen up, right? You've raised up to the height where that spear lands right in the shoulder. And I think just like damaged limb, it's a level 2 damaged limb here. I think one of these arms is like has been compromised by the impact of this energy spear. It just like cuts through cabling and armor, and I think until that damage is fixed, like one of the Mercuria's limbs is going to be unusable. But I think you've destroyed that Caesura, and I think there are still like you hear, I think the sound behind you of like small arms fire again as soldiers have kind of started to come out of that building. But I don't think any of them are equipped for like anti-armor conflict here, at least not right away. And so I think at this point, I don't think I need to make you guys roll to get kind of beat feet and get out of here. I think you can see off from the edge of the bluff, streaming towards the mountains in the north, the herd of drovers who have been making their way there. And with that, I'll take the final segment on the stampede clock as the drovers make their way north. They've successfully completed their route. And I think, that's also the trail for you to follow, headed north into the mountains. Like I said, I'm not going to make you guys roll to escape the scenario you're in. I think you've kind of mitigated the active threats. And as long as you decide not to stick around, you'll be able to rappel or climb down the side of this bluff and then make your way north. There's nothing nearby you that can like follow you or like arrest your escape, I think. Which is not true. The ace pilot, Rhodes Rampart.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a feeling I'm going to be rolling to get out of here.
Yes, Rhodes Rampart, who is in fact very much still in a sticky situation, has been knocked down to the center of a temple square that I think the crowd has basically dissipated now. The jubilant riot and resistance has kind of faded as the this awesome in the classical sense Concordat war machine has made its presence and power known. And so standing atop the tower, the fresco of this being made of star bringing a hammer down to strike an anvil, like right below it, right? The comprehension of grace is looking down at the Redshift, scored by its claw marks, scorched by its lightning. That other Caesura, the same kind of shield and spear combination that the one Carta and Desmond just took care of, has arrived on the edge of the temple square. The Redshift is now officially outnumbered. Rhodes, what are you doing?
Yes. So I'm looking for an exit first and foremost, but I'm currently kind of like grappling, right?
No, you got thrown to the ground.
Thrown to the ground. Okay. So am I next to this, like, in my mind's eye anyway, there's these like sweeping kind of pillars of marble going up, right? Where the Temple of the Myriad Way like emits this hologram.
Yeah. I think that hologram is still up. I think this 7-spoked wheel made of gold is still like lighting up the sky in front of you. It's brighter now because the clouds have stopped the sun from washing out its light. And you're kind of bathed in that glow.
What I'm going to try to do here is, with this particle lance in hand, like make like a kind of desperate upward like slash through. And let me know if this is too far. I'm going to try and like fell this pillar and just have it fall over the city and run. How big is it, I guess, is the real question.
The tower, I think one of these spires, there's like 7 of them coming out of this building. They're, a couple stories high. They're going to cause some damage. They could definitely provide you a cover, but they're not going to like destroy the town if they fall.
Right. But the width of the base, is it like a whole ass building, or is it
No,
like...
No. They're mostly like decorative ornaments. They're not like,
Yes.
These spires are an aesthetic choice, not like a structural choice.
Yeah. So that's, I think, what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this particle lance in hand, and I think like with the full like thrust of the rage engine behind me. Yeah, I'm going to try, and I think like what this looks like is the like chassis of the Redshift being like articulated at the waist or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the actual like base of this like swiveling, right? Like put all of this like power behind a slash with like the booster kind of pushing it forward,
mm-hmm.
and felling the spire here while I'm next to it.
And using that to cover your escape.
Yes. Right.
Okay. What is that? What do you think you're doing here? What does that look like?
I think this is like probably still battle. And like what I want to have happen here is like this like slash and then just like jumping away.
So let's look at it. Because unfortunately, it kind of sounds like destroy.
Oh, it does sound like destroy.
You destroy, you employ overwhelming destruction through your vehicle. You might smash a building with a wrecking ball.
Okay.
Of course, you do not have any points to destroy.
Which is too risky at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, this could, I could see, maybe it's like maneuver. We could, I could hear an argument for maneuver, maybe.
Well, okay, so I have the rage driving like my maneuverability skill, right?
Yeah.
Like it's enhanced. Can I kind of like hold the particle lance off sides and just like thrust forward to like cleave through this tower thing?
Are you just gonna punch right through it, just like?
Yes, like I'm going to drag this lance like across the base and just like sever it.
Yeah, why not, right? It's cool. I like that. I think it's a good escape.
Yeah.
It's about getting you out of here at this point, right? You're not trying to engage anymore. Is that like correct?
Yes, and maybe this is like a thrust like in the direction of an exit. So it's like this is the kind of parting, thing on the way out. To just like kind of hurtle myself off of the tower and like drag this across the spire's bottom.
Yeah. Let's call this maneuver. I think this is definitely risky. And I'd say risky standard here because I think it would have been a great effect because of the rage engine. But I think because you're maneuvering instead of destroying, I think that kind of like keeps you level at standard.
All right.
And so this is just to like knock this thing down like in a race out of here to get out of here, right?
Right.
Let's kind of like roll this together into like a bigger like escape sequence, right? Like this roll can kind of zoom out in its scale a little bit.
All right, I have 2d6 on that. I'm gonna push to exert a quirk.
Sure.
And I think the like modular hard points are one of my quirks that sort of fits here because I think the real thing is like that this modular like hard point is like a reinforced shoulder joint that allows me to like kind of like have enough kind of like pulling power to like rip through this thing. So that'll give me 3d6.
Yeah, 3d6, risky standard. That is a 5. So that is a mixed success, a success at a cost. You know what? This is not a. I'm going to give you a really this is maybe a little softball consequence, but I think you're getting out of here. The mission's ending, and you have failed to take out the comprehension of grace. So yeah, I'm giving you -2 trust with the Concordat, which puts your relationship with them at a -1. And your trust is going to go down a lot further once this mission ends already. But I'm just trying to accelerate the train of the Concordat caring about you, right? -1 means that they actively dislike and don't care about your squad. And as your trust goes down with them further and further, the more of an active priority your squad becomes in terms of like something that they want to take care of and send resources towards. This is a big action. The Concordat are, obviously are going to remember this, and because this pilot survived and they remembered you as well, like their personal distaste for Rhodes Rampart and the Redshift is going to kind of carry forward.
I think this is like the Redshift, you know, like hurdles forward, right? Like kind of dragging through this thing as much as the lance can cut. Like off to a rooftop, like an alleyway away or something, and is maybe like leaping rooftop to rooftop, heading towards that eastbound road towards the mountains.
Yeah.
And I think patches through to the evocator to say, "Mark my words, zealot, your pilgrimage ends on Imber." And I think like as that's happening, you can hear the like metal supports like straining and buckling, like as this, you know, tower comes like craning over the city, like the shadow you can see drawing long across the rooftops as like clatters to the ground.
With that to cover your escape, the dust and smoke and everything rising from it, you're able to maneuver your way through the city and out to the fields north to rejoin with the Semaphore and with the Mercuria. The Black Star Constellation reunited, headed north into the mountains to join the Drovers. Is that how you guys are kind of managing your escape here? Is that the plan?
Yes.
And I think we get, the shot, of this tower falling in the center of town, right? And as this one spire goes down, some of the others are still standing, but with one of the connections broken, this golden spinning, 7-spoked wheel, the symbol of the Concordat, starts flickering. It starts fading out as it's like the hollow emitters are damaged by this fall. And then we get, in short sequence after, Des blowing the explosions, right? Like a chain of explosions going off on the edge of that bluff. It starts out like, I think a few controlled, like quick series of explosions, and then just a keening sound that splits through the air as whatever kind of like fundamental reactor is inside this generator complex spills over and goes off. And there's a blast of blue-white light that just fills the sky. And is then replaced with like a reeking cloud of smoke. And I think we see, like the big broadcast tower tipping and tumbling and falling off the edge of this bluff, and like, and a mirror of that spire tower at the temple falling over. And I think maybe our last shot is of these three armors looking back at this site of destruction as they make their way to the edges of the foothills, these mountains, the Cosmio Ridge, and then make their way further north to reunite with the Drovers and recuperate from all of the harm and damage and general stress that you've incurred. But you've succeeded. You have destroyed Passerine Station. You didn't complete your secondary objective, but for all the licks you took, the Black Star Constellation have still won the day, at a cost, certainly. And dear listeners, join us here, as always, on Risky Standard.